After winning the 2022 NBA championship, the Golden State Warriors' future looked as bright as any, as of course they still had Steph Curry, Draymond, and Klay, that overall Big Three nucleus, combined with some young guys like Wiggins, Moody, Kuminga, and even Jordan Poole. Golden State at that point, coming off a championship, was riding high with tons of potential. But less than 2 years later, all that potential, all that promise, has come crashing down in an instant. As of course in 2023, the entire year was derailed by Draymond Green, putting a dent in Jordan Poole's face. And since that moment, Golden State's mojo, their chemistry, it's just been kind of whack and off balance. And of course, after trading Jordan Poole, a lot of the Warriors' own players and fans thought getting rid of Jordan would solve all the problems. And momentarily, it kinda did. As 8 games in, they were 6-2 and a top 5 seed in the West. But in the following 10 games, Golden State would lose 8 of 10, including 6 straight. And once again, Draymond would go berserk, lose his mind, and get suspended for 5 games. And the one guy in the media who called Golden State cooked after 1 game was indeed Charles Barkley. As what Charles saw in Golden State was a jumbled mess of underwhelming draft picks, aging stars, one psychotic veteran leader, and a coach in Steve Kerr who was being too loyal to players who were past their prime. And Golden State's overall falling off, it's really not on Steph Curry the player, and referendum on him as an NBA legend, as his overall play and production has remained steady the past 3 seasons. But the pieces around him have slowly but surely fallen off every single year. And the Warriors at this point, many forget, are the 3rd oldest team in the NBA behind the Clippers and Bucks at an average age above 28. And looking at their team ranks this year, this team screams mediocre. They rank 13th in offensive rating, 17th in defensive rating, 18th in net, 20 in opponent's points per game, and 12th in points per game. The 24 Warriors are a far cry from the 2017 Warriors and even the 2022 Warriors, as on both ends of the court, this team is flat out mediocre. And looking at Steph's so-called splash brother, who used to be a walking bucket, walking 20-24 points, Klay Thompson this year has taken a massive step back, and at this point is averaging 15.3 points. That ranks 65th in the NBA on 40.4% shooting, 36% from deep, and 87% from the free throw line. And even comparing Klay to himself, averaging 15.3 points is his lowest since 2012, his rookie season. And shooting from the field, at only 40.4%, it's the lowest of his entire career. And for a guy in Klay Thompson, who you want to succeed, want to return to his old form, at age 34, coming off an Achilles and knee injury, it's just not gonna happen. And even back in 2022, Klay's overall defense, his spryness, and intensity on that end was really never the same, as again, those injuries took a big toll on him on the defensive end. And even more troubling than Klay's awful play, it's the fact that Steve Kerr treats Klay Thompson like he's still in 2016. And look, I understand Steve Kerr is a very loyal coach, but at this point, it's going a tad bit past loyalty, bordering on insanity. As in a recent game versus the Kings, down in the 4th quarter, Klay Thompson couldn't buy a basket and was effectively a net negative on the court. At that point, Moses Moody had 11 points on 4-4 shooting in the 4th quarter. Who do you think Steve Kerr pulled from this game? Was it Moody who was on fire, or Klay Thompson who was a no-show? You guessed it, Moses Moody, who was on fire and hadn't missed a shot. Again, I hate to say it, but if Klay Thompson wasn't Klay Thompson, didn't have that name, the cachet, at this point this guy will be a bench player and a glorified role player, as now in 2024, he's coasting off rep and what he used to be. And look, as bad as Klay Thompson is, it's actually pretty shocking, Golden State's most disappointing player is actually Andrew Wiggins, who only 2 years ago was an all-star starter and dominating in the NBA Finals. As Wiggins in 24 is averaging 12.8 points, a career low, 4.4 boards, his lowest since 2017, 1.2 assists, also a career low, 43.3% shooting, the second lowest of his career, and 26% from deep, also a career low. The Wiggins phenomenon, him falling off, I really don't know what happened, because theoretically Wiggins at this point should be at his prime and his absolute apex. And the fact that in 2022, he was so motivated, so locked in, and was dominant in those finals, to now 2 years later being a glorified Jared Vanderbilt is pretty shameful. And if you want to be 100% honest, someone like Jonathan Kuminga, despite playing 8 less minutes per game this year, has been better than Andrew Wiggins. And of course, Golden State's last aging star, we have Draymond Green. And Green at this point, he's still effective on defense, a great playmaker and passer, but his overall impact isn't close to 2017 or even 2022. As Draymond's overall antics at this point, getting technical fouls, choking people out, grabs more headlines than his actual play and impact. And so far in less than 15 games, Draymond's overall antics complaining to refs, it's cost Golden State numerous games, quarters, and to blow leads late in the fourth quarter. And if you're Golden State's coaching staff, at this point you're kind of torn, putting the old guard who was proven they were great, compared to young guns who don't have as much prestige, but player for player might actually be more effective and better at this point in their careers. And I think one of the big time glaring signs to this team that they were kind of headed down a downslope was Bob Myers stepping down from the front office. As Myers is on record saying, just like Steve Kerr, he's extremely loyal to the guys who got them 4 championships and made them the Golden State dynasty. And why he stepped down largely was due to that choice of kicking those guys to the side in favor of someone like Moody or Jonathan Kuminga. And I think the overall struggle between the old guard versus the new guard, we've seen that in numerous dynasties in NBA history, most famously with the Boston Celtics. And Boston, much like Golden State, they pick the old guys time and time again. Bird, McHale, Parrish, the old guard always were taken ahead of the young guys and the up-and-comers. And for that Boston team in the late 80s, early 90s, they had a real opportunity to trade Kevin McHale and flip him for a valuable asset. Something later on that would cost him very, very dearly. And I think at this point, Klay Thompson, he is kind of Kevin McHale 2.0. Because Golden State doesn't really have the balls to trade him, but actually should if they're thinking with their head and not their heart. And one last thing I do want to touch on is Golden State's overall lineup, their overall team, being extremely small. As someone like James Wiseman theoretically should have been Golden State's franchise center and a piece of their team going forward. But of course, Wiseman was a massive bust and disappointment. So now in 2024 Golden State, running these small ball lineups, high paced, high intensity, shooting tons of threes. That works some nights, but not most nights. As compared to 2017 in today's NBA, you have some squads like Boston that have 3, 4, even 5 guys who are 6'7 plus. The NBA right now is all about switching and versatility. And the team who has more offensive versatility, defensive versatility, most nights wins the game and competes for championships. Unfortunately, the Warriors at this point, they're old, feeble, small, and floundering desperately for that Warriors identity that they had in 2022. And again, despite Steph Curry being a walking 30 points, I don't see this Warriors team the slightest competing for a championship or even the West Finals, as the Western Conference specifically is very, very young and very, very deep, as teams like OKC, the Wolves, Sacramento Kings, Rockets, even Denver and the Mavericks. Those teams are young, hungry, and their overall superstars are in the prime of their careers. Look, the Warriors dynasty at some point had to come to an end, and I think in 2024, it's kind of the last trickle of the dynasty that's finally out of the bottle. And if Mike Dunleavy has some balls, has some courage, a guy like Klay Thompson will be traded and flipped instead of paying him this offseason. And like Charles Barkley said earlier, this Warriors team quite literally is cooked. They might make the playoffs, might make the play-in tournament, might even win a first-round series, but their title hopes, championship aspirations are all but over. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.